You might find it hard to believe, but I've never reviewed a Tobe Hooper film on this channel before. Tobe Hooper, the guy who directed powerhouse films like Poltergeist, Life Force, Eaten Alive, and oh yeah, a little film called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Hooper is a legend in the horror genre, and I can't believe that I've never reviewed one of his films on my channel before. Well, that all changes tonight on the HellBound Horror Show. Who doesn't love a good summertime carnival? From the rides, to the attractions, to the food, carnivals are magical, especially for the kids. One day, the carnival suddenly arrives, and just as quick as they come, they disappear. There's just so much mystery surrounding them, and this is a great premise to base a horror movie on. The film starts off as most slashers from 1981 tend to do, and that's by ripping off a better film. In this case, it's a total ripoff of Halloween, with a young kid putting on a mask and going to murder his sister. She's in the shower and... Oh, and now we're ripping off Psycho as well. Cool. Well, he stabs her in typical slasher fashion, except that it's a plastic knife. Turns out that the kid is a sick pervert who spies on his sister in the shower and tries to scare her. Even though the opening is a parody of popular horror films like Psycho and Halloween, almost saying that Funhouse is as good or better than those films, it comes across as cheap, forced, and shoehorned in. Amy, the sister, gets ready to go to the carnival with her new boyfriend, Buzz, who is the typical older, cool guy who likes to hang out with high school-aged girls. Of course, he smokes dope and is like super rad. They go with Amy's friend Liz and her boyfriend Richie. Once at the carnival, the four of them walk around seeing the different attractions. Some may find this part of the movie a bit boring because not a lot happens, but it's meant to build character development, and it does a great job of setting up the atmosphere. We see a couple of the carnival workers that give off this eerie presence, and they are actually played by the same actor. It's an interesting dreamlike vibe. Eventually, Richie suggests that they spend the night at the carnival. And where do you go to sneak away to have some adult fun? At the Funhouse, of course! The name aside, what screams eroticism like giant monster eyeballs and creepy dolls? Once inside the Funhouse, the carnival is shut down and everything is turned off for the night. This might be the most subtle and creepy part of the whole film. There's just something about the animatronics turning off in the darkness that gives me chills. While making out, the gang hears something. They investigate the noise and find the worker with that Frankenstein's monster mask that helped operate the Funhouse ride, talking to the fortune teller. I foresee in my crystal ball that the next part's gonna get really weird. He tries to give her money, but she keeps asking for more. Eventually, $100 does the trick. She lays him down to please him, and he finishes super fast. Faster than he wanted. With a clearer head free of any of those naughty thoughts, the guy wants his money back. She didn't have to do much work, but she insists a deal is a deal. He then strangles her on the electrical box, killing her. Oops. Richie, the guy full of bright ideas, decides to steal all of the money from the carnival worker. Later in the night, the gang hears some more sounds and find the guy in the Frankenstein's mask bringing his father to the scene of the crime. Clearly, there is something wrong with the masked guy, and the father is furious that his son has killed again. It's one thing to kill random people, but it's another thing to kill carnival folk. They're like family. In his rage, his mask comes off, revealing the true identity of the son. The father sees that all the money is gone and comes to the conclusion that there are people hiding out in the funhouse. The chase is on and the gang needs to find a way to escape before the father and son find them and kill them. The funhouse isn't perfect, but man, I enjoyed the heck out of it. The characters are down to earth and mostly enjoyable. I love how fleshed out the villains are, and I love the carnival atmosphere. The beginning does drag on a bit, and if you're expecting a bloody slasher, you're in for a rude awakening. There isn't a lot of blood or guts. There is a bit of TNA on display, but outside of that, the film is pretty tame. The music is very fitting. It's haunting yet familiar. It kicks butt and is the best part of the film. Let's take a second to talk about our main villain. This guy looks awesome. Sure, there isn't a lot of articulation, which does break the illusion from time to time, but it is so gnarly looking. The design was created by Rick Baker, who later that year went on to do An American Werewolf in London. When creating the creature, he wanted to make something as iconic as Frankenstein's monster, and that could be the reason why he wears the monster's mask. It's a nod or an homage to the inspiration of the design. Even though the creature isn't as iconic as Frankenstein's monster, it still does a wonderful job of being visually interesting and memorable in its own way. Did you know that Dean Koontz actually wrote the novelization of Funhouse under a pseudonym? Yeah, he was writing it alongside the movie's production, but the movie was delayed, so the book actually came out first. Talk about spoilers. If you want to own this film, there is only one real route to go. Technically, there is an Arrow release from 2011, but it's a bit pricey and I believe it's out of print. But there is a Scream Factory release from 2012 and it's still in print and goes for a reasonable rate. All in all, the Funhouse is a great time. It won't be for everyone, but I love the setting and atmosphere. Tobe Hooper has such a way of creating interesting family dynamics, and Funhouse has a family unit almost as dysfunctional as Leatherface's. It's a unique film with interesting characters and totally worth a watch if you're a fan of Hooper. It's not outstanding or life-changing, but it's definitely not as bad as people say. Give it a watch and let me know what you think. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy, stay safe, and take care, everyone.